Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to Farmer Office Hours. We appreciate you taking the time to join us, and as always, this is your space to hear what's happening inside Autonomous and to speak directly with the team building the network. Today's call is an important one. The network has matured significantly over the past few months, and we're now shifting from getting things running to scaling for the long term. And we have some content pieces that reflect that shift. I'm Jim, the head of ecosystem at Autonomous, and joining me up on stage today, we have Randy, our technical community manager, and Emil, our community team lead. Okay, before we get into it, a quick reminder to follow us on our socials if you haven't already. On X, what was Twitter, we are at AutonomousNet, and that is the account where you can get the most updates on our progress. Additionally, we have Autonomous Labs, where we post more technical content that developers and engineers are likely to find interesting. And of course, we have at Subspace FDN, which the Subspace Foundation posts from. For those unaware, that's the Swiss-based foundation which is responsible for pushing the network forward. You can see our Discord, Telegram, and forum links. They are the best places to stay up to date with all the news from Autonomous Labs and the Subspace Foundation. You can find them in the footer of our website, autonomous.xyz, if you want to find somewhere you can just click straight through. Okay, a somewhat smaller agenda today, though that should leave plenty of time to field any questions you may have without going over for once. Randy will start us off with the latest network update and any hot topics you should know about. I'll be giving everyone a rundown on the recently released engineering roadmap, and Emil will follow up with some important news about the Zealy and Drip platforms we've been using for community engagement. Finally, we'll round things out with our usual Q&A session. Please feel free to post your questions at any time in the event stage chat to the right, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. But please just make sure your questions are in English so we can respond clearly for everyone. All right, with the preamble taken care of, let's kick things off. Randy, over to you for this week's network update, please.
Thank you, Jim. The slide here. Okay, so starting off with mainnet, we have a node count of around 381. Just a little reminder here that not everyone shares their telemetry data, so the node count is probably a little bit higher than this. Our space pledged is currently sitting at 137 petabytes, and the last version that was released was about a week ago on December 2nd. On our Kronos network, node count is 30, and space pledged is 1.29 petabytes. The latest version is 4. Next slide, please. So one of the things that I did last time is I listed this Kronos leaderboard. These are the wallets that contain the most TAI3. And continuing on with that this session, we have not a whole lot of changes here. In the top 5 really kind of stayed the same. There's a little bit of shuffle on the ones below it. But it is kind of interesting. We have 2 wallets that are over 1 million TAI. So it looks like they're neck and neck with 1.05 million and 1.01. So it'll be interesting to see next time if the one that ends with MD overtakes the one that ends in Chrono. Okay, next slide. As far as new versions, as I mentioned, we had one about a week ago on mainnet. This was mainly, I would say, more of a maintenance release. We're constantly making little small improvements. This one here, we improved the farmer piece cache writing performance, fixed a farmer segment header cache index check, and updated Rust KZG. You don't have to update to this release, but it is strongly recommended to always stay. As far as Kronos, no new Kronos release. However, we have been testing one, so I would expect one coming out shortly. Again, nothing that's going to change anything considerably. We are making improvement code. Next slide. In this segment, I would usually talk about hot topics. These are usually coming up from either the forum or Discord, but this time around, we don't really have any hot topic. There is one support issue where someone is trying to build from source. We're helping them through that, but it doesn't really rise to the hot. So we're going to leave it at that, and back to you, Jim.
Thanks very much, Randy. Yeah, so it's not a bad thing that we don't have any hot topics, I guess. We have the same, the same kind of set piece on DevSync, and yeah, when it's quiet, when there's not no big issues, what it is a signal of course, is that everyone is farming without issues on mainnet and on Kronos. And yeah, interesting to see that that fight for the top on Kronos. I didn't realize that it was so tightly competitive at the top. Uh, okay,
Yeah, I didn't
thanks,
realize
Rand.
that either. I'm going to be watching that probably about once a week just to see who wins.
See how that plays out.
Yep.
Okay, thanks again, Randy. Now, I want to take some time to walk through something many of you have been asking for, which is an updated look at the autonomous engineering roadmap and how all of this ties into the next big milestone for the network, which is, of course, Game of Domains. Over the past year, we've moved from theoretical architecture to a live functioning network with farmers providing consensus, domains running in production, and builders actively developing on Auto EVM. Now, the question shifts from can it run to how do we scale it, open it up, and make it last? And that is exactly what this roadmap is all about. The roadmap is built around three parallel layers of progress, as you can see in the slide there. It's the application layer, which are the tools and interfaces that users and developers touch. Then there's the protocol evolution, so that's the code that shapes the reliability, performance, and decentralization of the network itself. And finally, there's research, of course, which is the forward-looking work that prepares Autonomous for emerging technical, economic, and cryptographic challenges. These tracks move together not sequentially. Think of them as three engines all pulling the same train forward at the same time. Before we go deeper, a quick reminder of where Game of Domains fits into the roadmap. So for those who don't know, Game of Domains is our major incentivized initiative designed to validate domain execution, staking, operator behavior, and tooling under real pressure. It is the bridge to permissionless operators, permissionless domain instantiation, and third-party custom runtimes. They're the end game for the whole initiative. And much of what I'm about to walk you through is the foundational work that makes that transition safe, stable, and production ready. So let's get into it. One of the most requested features we've ever had is now well underway. It's, of course, pay with AI free. So this is going to allow anyone, so farmers, builders, partners, to purchase storage on Auto Drive using AI3 directly. So why does that matter? It's the first step toward financialized storage, where capacity becomes a programmable, composable resource. It means builders can integrate storage costs into their applications seamlessly, and it means users no longer need separate credit systems or foundation issued allocations, which is the case at the moment. This opens the door to real world, economically grounded use cases on top of Autonomous. It's a real big thing. And I can see that's the exciting Vexar. Excellent. Okay, so next up, so we have Auto Portal. So we have some, the auto portal kind of is going to continue its evolution. We've learned a lot from Astral, and the big lesson is simple programming, kind of underpinning ethos, which is to avoid building monoliths, separate concerns, let each tool do one thing well. So the portal becomes a lightweight hub for staking operations, account interactions, XDM and token wrapping interfaces, and basic visibility into domain level activity. Not something that tries to do everything at once. As you probably know, explorers have already been delegated out to Subscan and Block Scout, where they can scale independently. So the staking interface is live today and being actively used, especially by those of you participating in Guardians of Growth. And our focus here is on making sure that we're ready to scale. So we need to be able to handle surges of operator and nominator activity during Game of Domains. We're likely to, provide custom trials of innovation that test exactly that kind of activity. We also need more intuitive performance visibility. We're looking for feedback on how that should, what should that look like? What are you missing? What's going to help you make decisions? And a tangential to that, of course, community feedback loops in the general. What's working, bug reports. Let us know what's broken, what's clunky, where there's friction. We're not redesigning the whole thing right now, but we are aiming to ensure it performs under load and gives operators and nominators the information they need during the contest. Our next additions, as you can see there, are two simple but important upgrades. So we want a smoother interface for cross-domain messaging, or XDM. And we also want a guided interface for wrapping and unwrapping AI3 and WAI3. Both of these flows currently live in either the Substrate portal or our Block Scout Explorer, which are powerful but not friendly, is a nice way to put it. If you know what you're doing, they work really great. If you're a first-time user, they're a little bit daunting. And the goal here is that we want to make, if you can click it, you can use it. So we really want to try and remove the rough edges and the friction there. Okay, next, our penultimate items on the application side are Auto SDK integration with MCP, which is the model context protocol for those who don't know. So if you follow developments in AI agents, MCP is becoming the interoperability standard, and Autonomys wants to be an agent native blockchain. MCP, of course, being championed by Anthropic, the makers of Claude. The SDK, we're planning it's going to expose MCP services for staking, XDM, and eventually storage workflows are in our targets. So imagine in the future, you'll be able to say to your agent, stake 10 AI3 on my preferred operator and monitor their performance. And that is where this is heading. And that MCP tooling enables that kind of functionality. Okay, third-party domain support. So before we leave the application, a quick note on third-party domain support. One of the strengths of the Subspace protocol is that domains can run custom runtimes. Our goal here is to provide the tooling, documentation, and reference examples that make it easy for developers to build their own domains on top of the Farmer-secured consensus layer. Over time, this is going to enable a broader ecosystem of specialized domains, not just those built by Autonomous Labs, so our Auto EVM and our Auto ID. This work aligns directly with our research into data domains, which explore high throughput, storage focused runtimes. More on that later. So the vision here is simple, a network where anyone can build and launch domain types tailored to their own use cases. And delivering that vision will require some thoughtful engineering. Okay, moving on to protocol evolution. So first up, chain monitoring. Yeah, so this is one that I'm personally excited about. Chain monitoring gives us and you real-time visibility into reorgs, block production speed, large fund movements, and wallet-specific alerts. It's already live in early form, and we do welcome contributions. We have this running, it feeds directly, so it's monitoring the chain, and it actually talks to us in our Slack, in our internal messaging platform, warning us if we see something odd happening, maybe a particularly deep reorg or a slow block. And of course, any of the monitored wallets out of the box, it monitors the foundation wallets, for example. We get an alert pop up. The idea is, of course, that this represents a solid advance in network transparency and operational resilience, because, of course, we're alerted to anything strange happening. And if you would like any support setting up chain monitoring yourself, please reach out in the usual channels. Discord's probably favorite, forum, Telegram, anywhere else you can get hold of us. Okay, next up, offline operators. So operators process transactions on domains, and those that go offline, especially with large stake, can degrade domain performance in unpredictable ways. There's a stake weighted election that takes place to decide who's going to produce the block. And if you have a large stake, but you're absent, it can affect liveness. The new offline operator handling logic lets the protocol detect, isolate, and remove operators who are no longer participating correctly. This is a hard requirement, before we are able to open up permissionless operators, and something that we'll be looking to test specifically in Game of Domains. For those of you who know, of course, although maybe those who don't know, I should say, we actually have like an allow list on the current operator set on Auto EVM. So this is something that we absolutely have to have in place before we can remove that allow list, which is our plan, of course. Okay, next up, farming improvements. Okay, these aren't glamorous, maybe not as kind of exciting as some of the other things we're going to be talking about today, but they, of course, they do matter. So we're addressing things like cache hangs. We've submitted an upstream fix into one of the libraries we use for Stack Overflow issues we've seen, and also edge case behaviors that don't break farming but do annoy farmers. We will update, of course, Space Acres. It's going to update in sync with the core client. I added as appropriate because we have just had an update. So the December 02 release hasn't got a corresponding Space Acres release because the issues that are being fixed in December 02 have not been reported on Space Acres. And it's interesting seeing on telemetry, actually, as a quick little aside, if you take a look, we've got about 50-50 on Space Acres and the CLI at the moment, which is interesting. Okay, next up, XDM EVM precompile, quite a mouthful. So this is big for Auto EVM developers. The precompile lets an EVM smart contract send a cross-domain message without directly touching substrate APIs. What does that mean? That means that MetaMask could initiate XDM. It means that if you're developing against ethers.js, you could initiate an XDM. So that means that EVM only builders, so people who may be not familiar with Substrate or all their skills lie in Solidity and the EVM ecosystem, they're able to integrate messaging between domains and consensus seamlessly. This dramatically reduces friction for Auto EVM adoption, especially around XDM, of course. There is a much more detailed explanation of how this works on the accompanying blog and forum posts, which you can find. I'll drop the links at the end. I don't want you all running off and checking it out. But if you want to understand a little more about how within a domain there's a substrate and a domain layer, so like Auto EVM has a substrate and an EVM layer, and how they communicate and how the precompile works, there's a better explanation on the forum post, which we've also published as a blog. That's the roadmap, the engineering roadmap update, of course. Okay, as we move into Game of Domains, we will have engineering time dedicated to monitoring operator behavior, validating changes under stress as we execute on those trials of innovation, rapidly identifying protocol or tooling issues, and ensuring fixes are thoroughly tested before mainnet release. Please remember that test nets exist to break things, and our job is to make sure mainnet doesn't break with them. Of course, we'll be hosting the next stages of Game of Domains on the Kronos testnet. Okay, permissionless operators and domains. When Game of Domains concludes, and only once the fixes from that testing have shipped, that allows us to unlock permissionless operators and permissionless domain instantiation. As I mentioned earlier, we have an allow list on operators, and domain instantiation is currently something that would have to go through governance. So being able to make both of those permissionless, because we've tested to our satisfaction, that allows us to shift from the coordinated decentralization we currently have to a living decentralization, I'm going to call it, where anyone can participate, anyone can launch domains, and governance becomes an accelerator rather than a gatekeeper. And speaking of governance, of course, it's also on the roadmap, but not as a marketing slogan. We're moving from foundation managed oversight towards on-chain proposals, voting, and delegation. For those of you who are aware of like kind of the wider substrate ecosystem, very big on governance. We leverage some of the governance palettes, of course. Our goal is a model where the community governs the protocol, not the foundation, and there are engineering challenges to support the transition. And this, of course, is a timely moment to highlight that we recently had AIP one, Autonomous Improvement Proposal 1, submitted, and we are looking for community feedback. You can find it in the Subspace Foundation section on the forum, or I will save you the search and pop it there. We'd love to see you join the discussion. Help us shape the future of the network. But as I said, not right now, as we've still got more roadmap to cover. So moving on. Okay, implementation tasks. So we've got fast XDM. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Data domains and scalability. So these three streams of effort, sit at the boundary between engineering and research. As the designs mature, and only once they mature, engineering will begin implementation work for fast XDM, which, as you can imagine, is much faster cross-domain messaging, a data domain, which is a high throughput domain for storage-heavy use cases, and protocol scalability upgrades, which is kind of purposefully expansive. But you can think of these as the next major upgrades after permissionless participation is live. Finally, we've got research, of course we do, because I want to shift gears into the research side of the roadmap, the work that won't ship tomorrow, but will ultimately define the long-term capabilities and security of the autonomous network. Research is where we tackle problems that are too big, too new, or too sensitive to jump straight into engineering. These items set the direction for Autonomous over the next several years. Okay, so first up, fast XDM. Cross-domain messaging is central to autonomous architecture. It's how we get messages and tokens from consensus to domains or transferring between domains. And today, confirmation times are quite slow. So consensus to domain is 10 minutes, and then from a domain to another domain, or from domain back to consensus, it's around 1 day. It does depend on block speed. These numbers work, but they do impose a ceiling on what's possible. Of course, if we want real domain composability, multi-domain applications, agent-driven workflows, and fluid liquidity movement across domains, then 1 day is probably too slow. The Fast XDM Research Initiative aims to cut those times to around 10 to 20 minutes across the board. Quite an impressive speed up, I'm sure you'll agree. And to do that, our researchers are exploring a model rooted in the fair exchange problem, which is a well-studied problem in distributed systems and cryptography. The challenge, of course, is a fair exchange requires either strong synchrony, where everyone progresses in lockstep, which is slow, or a trusted third party, which we don't want. But Autonomous has something that most systems don't. We have a permissionless L1 beacon chain with economic guarantees provided by domain operators. So the idea being explored here is that the L1 and the operator set together act as the trust anchor. Operators post economic guarantees, or their available funds, to sponsor XDM transactions. And that in turn reduces the need for long confirmation windows while maintaining security. We are early in this process, but the theoretical work is promising. And of course, none of this ships until it is proven. The research involves formal modeling, simulation-based analysis, and eventually formal verification. And the mantra here, the kind of underpinning core tenet is that security first, speed second, never the other way around. Okay, moving on. The next research stream looks even further ahead. Seems that it's a hot topic in the macro, let's say, post-quantum security and cryptography in a post-quantum world. So NIST is already moving to deprecate classical cryptographic algorithms. Even though quantum computers that can break today's signatures don't exist yet, we cannot ignore the direction of travel. The risk isn't that someone breaks the network tomorrow. It's that transactions recorded today might be vulnerable in the future with this harvest now, derive later attacks. Or that when quantum computers do arrive, migration must be seamless and already planned. You can see some content has been going out on our Twitter that digs into this in a bit more detail. But I'd love to hear from the community if you have any thoughts on this. There's a lot of buzz around a cryptographically relevant quantum computer and when we might see one appear. So for us, we're looking at two categories, of solutions. First of all, it's NIST-approved post-quantum cryptography, PQC. The algorithms there are standardized, widely studied, but computationally heavy. Specifically, for a protocol like Autonomys, which inherits constraints from farming, operators, and domain runtimes, that overhead may be too high. If you're interested in learning a bit more, actually, I found the NIST website to be a great way to kind of get primer information on, the problem and the algorithms that they're that they're suggesting people migrate to. So yeah, the NIST approved PQC algorithms is one direction, but we're also looking at information theoretic or IT signatures, which are extremely interesting. They're a little bit over my head, but they offer quantum resistant guarantees, potentially much lower overhead, because of course the NIST proposed algorithms, they do have that there's a cost, in bandwidth and compute. But the IT signatures, they rely on high quality randomness. And of course, our researchers call this our potential secret weapon, because IT solutions sidestep many bottlenecks of conventional PQC. And we have strong randomness on our beacon chain. We do already have early internal analysis and proof of concept exploration underway. But I want to again, highlight none of this is shipping soon. We are in the research section now. This is multi-year work, realistically, but the important message is we will not be caught unprepared. And when the ecosystem moves, Autonomys will be ready. Okay, moving on, still in research, data domains and the design of those data domains. So this is one of the most exciting pieces of research for protocol scalability. Right now, all domains share a similar runtime model, but as the network grows, certain workloads, especially storage heavy or bandwidth heavy workloads, may benefit from purpose-built environments. A data domain would handle large data throughput, offload bandwidth intensive operations, increase parallelism, maintain cryptographic auditability, and improve overall scalability of the system. Think of it as a domain optimized specifically for the data plane of Autonomys. It is a bottleneck. We're speaking with partners, some of whom, we don't have the bandwidth to accommodate their ideas, their visions. But data domains will aim to solve that. And the research team is currently working on runtime designs, cryptographic constraints, throughput modeling, and verification of data availability assumptions. The specs for data domains already exist in draft form. They are detailed and extremely promising. I think some of them are public on our Notion. And as this research matures, engineering will begin building a prototype, of course. Okay, continuing on the scalability thread. So it's not just about throughput, it's about sustainable flexibility, of course. Autonomys is fully permissionless at the consensus layer. That means anyone can farm, and the protocol must withstand unpredictable network topologies, and it must remain secure even when participation grows by orders of magnitude. And that, of course, all those factors introduce challenges that classic proof of stake chains just don't face. The research team is defining how Autonomys should scale across transaction throughput, data availability, validation cost, domain count and complexity, cross-domain communication volume, and operator churn. This is one of the core research efforts that will shape the network for the next decade. Is how do we go from, how do we scale, with no restriction, no bounds, or no known bounds. And once the spec stabilizes, engineering will use it as the blueprint for the next generation of performance upgrades. Okay, so to summarize, to summarize the research work, the key takeaway is that farmers and operators provide the backbone that makes all of this possible. Research determines what the network will look like in 2, 5, and 10 years, but farming secures it today. Fast XDM, data domains, PQ security aren't academic luxuries. They're not optional. They are essential pieces of the puzzle that allow Autonomous to grow safely and sustainably. And to wrap this all up, catching up with my slides, we're strengthening the application layer. We are hardening the protocol for open participation. We're researching the technologies that will define Autonomous 5 years from now, and we're preparing the network for permissionless operators and domains through Game of Domains. The roadmap isn't just about features, it's about maturity. It's how we evolve from a live network to a resilient, scalable, community-governed protocol. And as part of our evolving needs, Emil is now going to give us an update on some of the community platforms that we use. Emil.
Yes, of course. Hey, everyone. I wanted to talk to you about something we've been thinking about for a while now. As some of you might have already noticed, we're shutting down our Zealy and Drip campaigns. And I'd like to take a few minutes to explain what's going on and where we are headed. But first, let's start with why we're making this change. Zealy has been great for what it was. It helped us get things off the ground and gave us a way to connect with you all during those pre-mainnet days and around our TGE. It's been fully run by our engagement team ambassadors, who did an excellent job and made it not just an interesting place to be, but one of the best places to onboard and learn about the network. It's also been a place for exciting trivias and quizzes, as well as our signature Spark and Seed campaign. And you can see some of those NFTs we've distributed during that campaign here on the slide. Huge shout out to our engagement team and team lead ambassador Ivan for spearheading the initiative. But as we've been learning what works and what doesn't, we've realized that we need to take a step back. We want to figure out what community engagement should actually look like for us going forward, and not just follow what everyone else is doing. So we are pausing to catch our breath and think about what comes next. We've got ideas, but want to make sure that we're doing things right instead of just doing things. But before anything else, your points. Some of you are probably wondering what happens to everything you've earned. And don't worry about it. We're doing one final transfer from Zealy over to Drip before we close the page down. So every point, every bit of progress that you've made, it's all coming with you. And there are some additional perks. Here's what we're going to do. Within about 2 weeks from today, everyone with one of the Autonaut roles is getting bumped up one tier. This is our way of saying thank you for participating in Zealy campaigns and ensuring that your Discord account stands out from everyone else. On top of that, everyone who participated in Zealy campaigns is getting a unique NFT minted on AutoEVM and permanently stored on AutoDrive. We're still finalizing exactly what is going to look like, but we'll share those details once we've got everything nailed down. And as to what comes next, our team and our engagement team ambassadors have been throwing ideas around for new ways to keep everyone involved and engaged. Keep an eye on Discord for events and announcements. We will be testing things, trying new approaches, and seeing what sticks. Yeah, that's really everything I wanted to say about it. Thanks again for being a part of this and participating in our Zealy and Drip campaigns. And be on the lookout for the new roles and unique NFTs. And let's see what comes next. Yeah, it's over. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Emil. Yeah, and I also want to give an extra special shout out to Ivan and the engagement team who were not just instrumental in delivering those great campaigns, but we couldn't have done it without you, Ivan, without a doubt. So again, I want to double down on the thanks there. Okay. Again, I mentioned it was a shorter agenda. We do have lots of time for Q&A, guys. I appreciate that the roadmap update is or was pretty dense. I'm very happy to kind of try and unpack any parts of it. If anyone wants to try and peel back the layers, I won't say that I know everything about the research items. There is definitely some maths that's beyond me or over my head. But I'm very happy to take questions away and see if we can get you answers later on. But yeah, if anyone in the audience has any questions, I can't actually see any in the chat at the moment. Let's see some greetings. I can see people are excited for Pay with AI 3. I can see that we've got some thumbs up on AIP1, which is great. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, now's the time to pop them in the chat. Yeah, okay, Uliao, yes. Not like you. There has been some activity. So we are streaming on YouTube as well. Let me just check there. So we are streaming on YouTube in multi-aspect ratio. That is a question that I have. Is anyone watching on a phone? And can you tell us, does it work better than it used to? Okay, so from YouTube and X via our streaming platform, I'm asked, do you play Fortnite? Not entirely relevant, but I try to, but I'm no good. There are too many little kids who are much better, and it's frustrating for me. So no, not really. Have it installed for when my nephews come round. Okay, let's go Autonomous. Thank you, Scorpio. Okay, Marcus Jennings, will this webinar be recorded and available to watch later on YouTube? So yes, we are. It's streaming on YouTube, and you can find basically if you're watching it on X at the moment. But if you go to our Autonomous channel on YouTube, you will find it. Immediately after the call is over, you'll be able to restream it because it's going out live. So thanks for those questions, guys. Anything from Discord? No, everyone's shy today. I think that's absolutely fine. I mean, of course, questions don't have to be confined to the call today because we're always cruising Discord. So if you do have any questions, any follow-ups, please do let us know. Okay, one question, Zekar from Validatrium. Will there be some drop in future? We don't have any planned. If you weren't here for the test net, Zekar, that was kind of the main distribution. However, game of domains, there is a 0.3%, a 3 million AI3 reward pool allocated to game of domains. So you'll be able to participate there. There's opportunity to participate and earn some tokens in game of domains. So the best way to stay informed is to, if you're mainly in Discord, if you're Discord native, make sure that you've got alerts on our announcements channels in Discord, or if you prefer a more sedate way, you can subscribe, and this is really powerful. If you subscribe for emails on our announcements channel on the forum, you will definitely get pinged when we are ready to kick things off there. So no airdrop, I assume that's what you're asking, but there are ways that you can earn tokens. And there's also Guardians of Growth is underway as well. There's a large kind of reward pool there, which you can check out. I'll actually drop the link because it's towards the end of the call, so you'll be able to check that out. If you like staking, it might be something that interests you. Ilya, when will the developer documentation be updated? Many of them are Taurus. Interesting. So I thought that we got them all. Maybe Emil, do you want to jump in? Let us know how things are going there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was exactly browsing through the developer docs at the moment. It seems like there's only one reference and one guide, and this guide could not be updated to mainnet, hence why the Taurus references are still there. But I believe for the rest of the guide, there is no more. There is not any references to Taurus.
Thanks,
So
Emil.
yeah, if you can point to any specific pages or maybe some guides that you found confusing, that would be super helpful for us to identify them and update them.
Thanks, Emil. Yeah, because I know I've seen the pull requests going into the dev docs. I thought that we caught everything. So please do let us know if there's something that's not been updated. To be fair, I think there was quite a big round that went in about a month ago. So if you haven't checked in a while, maybe they've been updated since last time you checked. But yeah, please do ping us in Discord. Would be really handy if you can find find somewhere that we've still got Taurus. Okay, which update, in your opinion, will have the biggest impact on the project's development in 2026? That is a great question. So, I mean, research is a little bit further out. So I feel like that's got the biggest impact long term. But in 2026, okay, I would say probably Pay with AI 3. I mentioned earlier that it is the first step towards financialization of the storage. So this is where developers are able to come and build. There's a much better approach to the composability of the use of that storage with Pay with AI 3. It unlocks the ability for builders to offer all different kinds of models for paying for the storage that the farmers are plotting. So I think that's going to be something really powerful, and it's also, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm really excited about it. Same as Vexa, this is it's quite close. I see Jeremy's in the crowd, and I don't want to overcommit. I do know that that we've deployed updates to the kind of the back end that facilitates Pay with AI 3. But I also I know that there's a bug as well, so I'm not going to stick Jeremy on the spot. Actually, we'll save that for DevSync. That'll give you a reason to tune in to the next DevSync. But great question, Ivan. Yeah, let me just have a quick look at the roadmap graphic as well, because we see what else is exciting. I mean, Game of Domains, I think, is going to be a catalyst for the community as well. There are incentives available. It gives everyone something to do. And I guess as well, MCP servers. So unlocking the ability to, again, it's a way that those building on our network, on the storage, on what we have, are able to build with less friction. So, and whenever that happens, remove the development friction. It means that people can focus on delivering their vision rather than fighting with SDKs and APIs. But yeah, I guess Pay with AI 3 would be my one answer that I'd pick out. Okay, a follow-up question from Ivan. Could you share any plans regarding new strategic partnerships and which areas are currently the top priority? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so as I just kind of alluded to, we're in a stage now where we have the network is live. We have we're listed on exchanges. People have access to the token. So what we need now is usage, Ivan. And we need people to use our storage in a meaningful way. And we need to drive the demand. We've got the supply side, and we've proved that the supply side can scale quite nicely. But what we need now is the demand side. So any partners, if you know someone who's got a real strong use case for permanent on-chain verifiable storage, all the kind of cryptographic guarantees that you get by storing data on our network, we'd love to hear from them, and that goes for anyone who's catching up later on this call, maybe anyone in the community who might be in other projects. Let us know if you see an opportunity. Just this week, actually, we spoke to a potential partner who essentially want to, need to store their they're, I guess, equivalent of like EVM call data. So it's kind of like a data availability layer. Really great fit, you know, because of course they need the guarantees that the data's permanent, that, you know, it's immutable, because they're going to want to be able, you know, they want their history of all their transactions stored in a way that you know, ensures that it's the truth, it's the single source of truth. But yeah, top of the you know, the areas currently top priority, most definitely those who need our particular kind of storage, Ivan. Uliel wants to ask me a private question. Sure, you can DM me, Uliel. I'm Jim at autonomous.xyz if you want to email. Oh, hang on, no, sorry, you're replying to email. Okay, well, okay, I was worried a little bit there, but not as worried as Jeremy, who's put the sweating emoji up because I've ratcheted up the pressure for Pay with AI 3, of course. Okay, guys, any more questions? I can see Zakar's typing, so we'll just give them a chance to pop their question in. Okay, Penguins come in. Since the mainnet launch, the network's total storage capacity has dropped from 600 petabytes to 160 petabytes. Could you comment on whether this affects the network security or not? That's actually been asked in the community previously. So yeah, of course, it means that that there's less storage required for some sort of 51% attack. But that's not the only security there. We also have proof of time. So you would need to not only have storage, but you'd also need to fake time as well. It's not as straightforward as kind of, you know, let's say Bitcoin, where if you own 51% of the hashing power, you can change the truth. But yeah, does it affect the network security or not? Yeah, no, not to the extent where it's been raised as a concern internally. I could commit to that. But obviously, yeah, the consensus is stronger the more storage there is. And then a follow-up: are there any additional programs planned besides Game of Domains to attract new participants? Nothing in the pipeline at the moment. You know, as I said, Game of Domains is strategic. We need to run Game of Domains before we can unlock the next kind of features of the network, if you like. We do expect to have a number of trials of innovation in there, so it won't just be you know, running an operator and staking on operators. We expect that there are going to be other things to do as well. But yeah, we haven't got a plan that far out at the moment, Penguin. Okay, Zakar, we ran a node. Were there any rewards? I inherited this project, so I'm a bit lost. If you could answer if there was any reward for testnet. Yes, there was, Zakar. Right. Okay, so I'm hoping that your colleagues have left you a wallet which you could plug into the spreadsheets here, Zakar. Check that out. If you are struggling, okay, I see Vexer has very kindly jumped in. Yeah, so that might be a slightly bigger, longer conversation than we have time for here, but very happy to get into it with you. Of course, you're able to share via DM the wallet address that you participated with, and one of our wonderful ambassadors or team will be able to check and see what's going on. Penguin, what is the network security threshold in terms of storage volume? So it's relative to the amount of storage, of course. I'm not sure. I think you're reaching for me saying a number. I don't have a number, I'm afraid. But maybe if you can reframe the question, I can ask the research team to see if we can get an answer. Okay. Bit of a slow start on the questions, but we got there, guys. This is entertaining. Let's have a look. Anything else? Nothing else on X or YouTube? Can see we have someone typing. Hey, Jonathan. Okay. Right. Of course. Okay. What would happen if the storage available suddenly dropped below the replication factor? Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know exactly. I would guess that the replication factor would drop, but that is a question that I would need to ask. I don't know exactly what happens in the code, but great question. Let me take that away for you, Jonathan. See if I can get you an answer. So for context there, it's a really good question. But like at the moment, I believe it's configured that we have a replication factor of 25. So data stored on the network is erasure coded and for resilience, and then also replicated. And I believe the current factor is 25. So what Jonathan's asking is, say, what happens if we have less than 25 times the archive blockchain history, which is currently, I think, about 250 gig. Great question. Okay, a question from Ivan. Out of curiosity, are there any new technical features or infrastructure improvements planned that could significantly expand the use of DSN among partners? Specifically, is the team considering developing tools that would simplify DSN integration for high-load use cases, such as gaming, large-scale media projects, or applications that work with massive data sets? I'm also curious whether sandbox solutions for developers are planned, allowing partners to more easily test and implement models built on decentralized storage. Quite a lot in there, Ivan. Okay, so could significantly expand the use of DSN among partners. So this is an interesting problem, because of course we need to understand what potential partners need, and conversations are ongoing. You know that we have a number of partners who are kind of testing out storage, seeing how it works, and you know, we are taking guidance from them on what their needs are. So you know, much of what's in the research roadmap, and you know, to a certain extent, some of the further out items in the engineering roadmap in general, they are aimed at making the usage, making the storage more useful to the wider set of use cases that we've been approached, and it is very interesting. And you're right, you know, with our network, the bottleneck is bandwidth, like how quickly we can get data onto the network, you know, and that means into farmers' plots. And excuse me, data domains is, you know, that is the plan to specifically answer that bottleneck. So when we talk about high load use cases, gaming, large scale media projects, exactly that. It's, you know, there's only a certain rate at which we could get like big video files, for example. Gaming, I'm not sure, you know, I'd be interested to know exactly what the requirements there are, but I would have thought that gaming typically would boil down to having very fast finality on transactions, and lots of them, because you're going to have a lot going on. But you know, if you have access to someone with requirements, or maybe you can articulate what those requirements would look like, we can see you know, how we could work that in. Massive data sets, same problems. Sandbox solutions for developers. Okay, that's an interesting one actually. Emil right now is producing docs for what we're calling the farmerless dev node. Jeremy put together a Docker container where you are able to, I mean, you at the moment you can run your own domain locally, and you can basically build a copy of Kronos or mainnet running on your machine, on your development machine. At the moment, that requires running an operator, but it also requires running a farmer as well. And Jeremy's worked out a way that we can package things up so that you can run an operator node locally, so you'll be able to do your let's say deploy your auto EVM and run your Solidity contracts totally offline, all totally local, but now you don't need to run a farmer as well. So developer DX developer experience is something that's like an ongoing challenge, but yeah, essentially you would have a sandbox which would be local to your machine. You may be talking about kind of sandboxing on mainnet as well, but maybe we could tease that question out in the chat. Okay, easily test. Okay, actually no, maybe you are. So yeah, partners more easily test and implement models. So yeah, I mean, and we also have testnet. But at the moment, if you want to do some testing, let's say a developer wants to build a proof of concept, or they want to just evaluate the suitability of the network storage for their use case, all you need to do is go to ai3.storage auto drive and get a developer key. You can use a wallet and then give us your details. There's actually a button in auto drive on that website where you can request more storage credits. And of course, you can ping any team member and we'll route you to the right place to get more credits added. I know that we have people in the audience who have asked for additional credits for testing testing solutions that they're considering developing. So great questions again, Ivan. Thank you. And if I haven't quite hit your answers, please do let me know. And again, we can tease them out in the general chat, of course. Thank you, Ivan. Okay, nothing else on X or YouTube. So as we wrap up today's Farmer Office Hours, I want to take a moment to reflect on where we are and where we are heading. Over the past few months, the network has continued to mature in meaningful ways. After the intensity of transfer enablement, domain activation, and exchange listings have all been completed, we've focused on ensuring the wider ecosystem on both mainnet and Kronos are fit for purpose. And now a clear engineering roadmap that lays out how we scale Autonomous for the long term. Before we close, a few important updates and reminders. So if you'd like to have a read through the roadmap at your own pace, there is a comprehensive forum post on the roadmap, which you can find here. And I will pop these links into the video description if you're catching up later on YouTube. I also want to let you know new builds are coming for both mainnet and Kronos. They're currently being tested internally and include some performance and stability improvements. And as always, we'll announce as soon as they're ready for testing and deployment. As I mentioned earlier, AIP1 has been posted for community discussion. This is one of the first proposals under the Foundation's governance framework, focusing on distributing farmer vote rewards based on staking. So please do take a moment to review it, share your thoughts, and help shape the direction of governance as we move towards progressive decentralization. I'm going to post the link again, so they're all kind of together later on if anyone wants to pop in the channel here and check them out. Ecosystem grants, we have had a couple of questions, so they are progressing. We've now reviewed a significant number of proposals and several projects are moving through discovery and into the grant negotiation phase. So if you are a builder or want to become one, this is one of the best ways to join the ecosystem and drive real adoption. And if you want to learn more about the grants program, check it out. It's on the Subspace Foundation website. There's a kind of a rundown on exactly how it works and the kind of things that we're looking to offer grants for. And then finally, if you're participating in staking, the Guardians of Growth is a great opportunity to earn boosted rewards while supporting network decentralization. If you haven't joined yet, you still can. Nominators play a crucial role in strengthening the operator set ahead of Game of Domains, and there is a 5 million AI3 rewards pool dedicated to the initiative. So it's going to run for around 12 months. And I think we're around 2 months in, maybe closer to 3 now. But again, there's a post that you can check out and see what it's all about and see if it's something that might interest you. Okay, to everyone here today, thank you. Your participation, your questions, and your commitment to the network continue to shape Autonomous in real time. So thank you once again for spending your time with us. Keep an eye on our socials for future announcements. We look forward to seeing you at our next event. Until then, keep farming, keep questioning, and as always, stay connected. Thanks, everyone.